progress on these issues, which affect expatriates because they diminish Australia's standing in the world. This is an autobiography about growing up in Australia and my later connections with it, Hypotheticals, Spycatcher, and so on, together with accounts of some cases I've done at the Old Bailey and in international courtrooms. I've tried not to plunder my earlier memoir, The Justice Game, although there is some overlap. It describes in detail my major cases until 1998, and curious readers might treat it as a companion volume. I have avoided plagiarizing myself, if that is legally possible, by repeating my arguments for a Bill of Rights that were set out in the Statute of Liberty, or retelling the stories of our past and future that featured in Dreaming Too Loud. Just as autobiographies of sports and movie stars and politicians tell stories of sport and movies and politics, so this account of a barrister's life must delve into the arcane milieu of the law. Lawyers' memoirs are always in danger of sending non-lawyers to sleep because our tricks and tragedies and triumphs so often depend upon intricate rules that have taken us years to learn and which defy quick explanation to a general reader. I have consciously tried to write a book that it will not take a law degree to understand. The bar is a lonely profession. You live in your head, even when you're on your feet. Your trade is to juggle laws and precedents while reaching for scraps of old wisdom from the garbage bin of past cases, to construct an argument to favour your client or your cause. You go into battle alone, with no army to lead or supporters to rally or speechwriters and researchers to back you up. Your efforts may actually influence social progress more effectively than other blatherers like MPs or bishops or media commentators, but you must not expect to be loved. My forensic father, John Mortimer, did create in Rumpole of the Bailey a lawyer the world could love, but I could never be that lawyer, although I partnered John in many of his cases down the Bailey and learnt much by his side. The only characteristic I share with Leo McKern's Dickensian barrister is a commitment to my client. In my early days, I restored many a burglar to his friends and his relations, but I always worked with the theory that certain trials at the Old Bailey had a wider significance, with consequences that could improve civil liberties in England and abroad. I had picked this up from my schoolboy fascination with a book banned by the Menzies government, The Trial of Lady Chatterley, which had inspired my ambition, however far-fetched for a boy growing up in an outer-Sydney suburb, of joining the English bar to fight causes célèbres at London's criminal court. I followed that dream, and some of the consequences are described in this book. I moved on from the Old Bailey to devote my practice to human rights around the world, appearing as counsel for dissidents in countries much less fortunate than Britain or Australia, taking their cases to international courts in The Hague, Strasbourg, and Geneva, and even for some years serving as an appeal judge on a UN war crimes court in Africa. My book, Crimes Against Humanity, The Struggle for Global Justice, deals at great length with the nuts and bolts of this politically controversial and legally complicated subject. Here, I try to describe more personally the pleasure and privations of this new form of legal practice, and the thinking behind establishing Doughty Street Chambers, now the largest collection of barristers dedicating themselves to human rights work. There are plenty of books reminiscing about professional lives lived under wigs and gowns. In this book, I've tried to explain how dedication to the world's fight has its challenges and rewards. My neighbour in North London these days is Dame Edna. There is not much more than a hill's hoist between our houses, and we often discourse about the old country and our fears of ending up in care and